morning, or good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, no matter the time zone that you are in and wherever you are watching us from. My name is Tatenda, and I'm the SADC representative for the Southern African Archaeology Student Council. And I'm also here with my fellow council member. She's the chairperson of the council. Her name is Mpumi. Thank you, Mpumi, for joining us today. So today we are having a different setting of the Unlocking Archaeology. It's more of a roundtable where I am actually joined by my panelists from the Erasmus Mundus. And I have decided to title this session being an Erasmus Mundus Archamat. And we have got two fellow Archamaticians from Africa. It's amazing that, today Africa is fairly represented, because from the east to the west, and again from the southern part of Africa, we have got a fair representation. So joining us from Nigeria, the giant of Africa, is Amarachi Amazu.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to correct you, but you got it.
So Amarachi holds a BA in Archaeology and Tourism from the University of Nigeria. It's in Nsukka. She graduated as an overall best graduating student in 2019. So she has got a broad research interest, and her interests are mainly related to the current program that she's doing. And for further details, you will have a better understanding of what she's interested in as the discussion progresses. From the western side, from the eastern side of Africa, we have got benardiflavian Kitoha. So Bernard is a holder of a degree, an honors degree in heritage management from the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. He has been actively involved in archaeology and heritage studies since the year 2021. So again, he has got some amazing research interests, which we will explore as the conversation goes on. So what is it that has actually binded the three of us, rather? The main thing that has binded the three of us is we are Archamaticians. And we're fortunate enough to be accepted as the Erasmus Mundus scholars for the year 2022 to 2024. So what is it about the Erasmus Mundus? So Erasmus Mundus is a program which supports European top quality master's courses, and it provides EU-funded scholarships for students applying for different joint master's degrees. So the three of us, we will be studying at three different universities. And for our first semester, we were at the University of Evora in Portugal. Our current and second semester, we are now in Greece at the University of Thessaloniki. And the third one will be in Italy at the University of Sapienza. So guys, welcome to this session, and thank you very much, Amarachi and Bernad, for having us today, joining us today for this fruitful discussion. So before we get into the discussion or into the conversation, please, to all our viewers, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, for more information about different updates, don't forget to follow our website and check for a lot of updates that might come from that website. And our website is SAAS archaeology.com. That's our website. So guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I would start by, just trying to get us oiled so that we can better be prepared for this discussion. And as much as I remember, Amarachi, first of all, how does it feel to be like an overall graduating student from your university? And after
Okay.
having such, an achievement, how does it feel again to have been accepted as an Erasmus Mundus scholar?
Okay. Well, how does it feel to be? I don't know how I feel. I mean, I should say excited, happy. I don't know if I would say lucky because it was hard work. Yeah, because it wasn't easy at all. I mean, studying archaeology in Nigeria, where the course itself, it has a lot of challenges, funding problem, everything is just a challenge. So it was rigorous for me. The failures was crazy, but at the end of the day, I feel excited. I don't know. And how does it feel to be an Erasmus student? Well, I feel very lucky and blessed because I mean, after a lot of rejections and finally a master's in archaeology, it was a big one for me, knowing fully well that this wasn't the field I wanted to continue in archaeology. I mean, that would be a discussion for some other time. So, I mean, I feel very, very lucky and blessed. Yeah.
You feel blessed, and again you feel so lucky about having to get these two things, which actually for me they are an evidence of hard work, if you can ask. So for Ben, I understand that yes, you graduated from Dar es Salaam and you were doing a course in heritage management.
Yes.
What made you actually to say, okay, I want to jump from heritage management and get into archaeology? Was it because you came across the Erasmus Mundus opportunity, the Archamat, or it was because of some other factors?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for inviting me to this session and actually share what the journey has been to me from like the experience I have had with the whole journey from 2000 and 2021 to up now, where I'm here doing the Archamat program. But actually, what got me interested to me, it's not a shift because I'm into heritage. After graduating in heritage, cultural heritage management, I wanted to do a master's to improve my understanding of the field. So I decided then, actually when I was in the, I think, second year, that I'll do a master's. But it wasn't, I didn't want to, I didn't have any plan to do a master's abroad. I wanted to do a master's at my own university, at the University of Dar es Salaam. But in order to fulfill that plan, which was, in order to reach that goal, the plan was to go into the field after graduating, get some experience, and then find a problem or find something which I can do in my master's. So the plan was actually finish, and then I go to the field. I look at the field itself, how the problems, the practical things, how things are going, the research, and find an angle which I think fits me to do a master's. So actually in doing that, after finishing my bachelor degree and going into the field, that is where I actually got into the field of conservation, especially cultural heritage conservation. And it got me the opportunity to explore different, let's say now national and international institutions which were dealing with cultural heritage conservation. And while doing that is where I got an opportunity to know about Erasmus Mundus masters, and this one specifically because it's deal with material science. So while I was doing my bachelor degree, it was very difficult for me when we were having conservation courses to understand them that much, because most of the time they were dealing with science aspect of it, which to me, coming from a background of an art background, was very difficult to comprehend. So actually this program, actually back then I didn't know that it was that broad, although they mentioned in their one of the advertisement about aspect of conservation, that which was what drawn me much to the program. So I'm really, really happy because it's aligned very well with what I have figured it out to be my angle in the whole field, which is cultural heritage conservation.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So for me, coming across into this course, it was more of an accidental thing where I was just googling on the internet. Then I just came across the course and I was like, okay, let me give it a try. And as for you, Ben, you have told us that you saw on the website and what have you. Um, when you came across the opportunity, was it because you were just like me, an accidental thing, or somebody came with the opportunity to you, or how actually did you came to know about this opportunity?
So as I said, like my plan was to go into the field and have an experience. So while doing that, I created, I designed an environment which could support my plan, or would support me achieving the goal. So that gave me, first of all, the thing I did is I decided creating a connection with people who were involved in the field. So I created connection with people involved in the field. I started using my social media platform, following different institutions like ICROM, ICOMOS, the Gate Institute, and things like that. So in building that kind of connection and environment which could support my goal, it got me connected to different people who were actually experienced in the field. So one of them, it sparked from my conversation which we were having about restoration. I think it was a concept of a restoration of Engaruka ruins in in my country. So while speaking about that, she mentioned, actually she later became my mentor. She mentioned about this kind of opportunity. If you are interested about conservation and things like that, you should have to look at this a different scholarship. At the moment, she didn't mention directly Erasmus, but she mentioned other options. So when she came across that opportunity, which that's Erasmus Mundus Master Scholarship, she sent it to me, and I started looking at it. And as you have said, it didn't come that directly, because the first program I wanted to apply in was the International Erasmus Masters in Quaternary in Prehistory, and that was the first, because I applied I applied twice. It was the first attempt, and while continue because I started after doing that, I wasn't selected. I was shortlisted as self-paying enrollment, and due to that, I couldn't pay or afford this. I couldn't afford the program because I was enlisted as a self-paying student. But I didn't give up, so I tried the second time with more information. So this is when I stumbled upon Archamat.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So to those who don't know what the International Master in Quaternary and Prehistory is, actually they have just released a new call for the 2023-2024 applications, where they are calling for students to do their masters with them. So yes, it's just amazing that you have highlighted your experience and how you came into, you know, into this area of Erasmus Mundus, your search for scholarships, and the role of your mentor in making sure that you are here, you are where you are today.
Yeah.
I understand, Amarachi, that in Nigeria there are a lot of, can I say, groups or organizations, youth-led organizations, where Erasmus Mundus, if I'm not mistaken, is more popular in that in Nigeria. Is it the same case with you? Did you just accidentally came across the opportunity, or it was because somebody had to present the opportunity to you and you had to apply?
Okay. For me, my story into the Erasmus Mundus scholarship is kind of rigorous because why? It was not my initial plan because first of all, I wasn't really searching for a scholarship. I was only looking for an admission specifically in Germany. So why? Because Germany have lots of their public institutions. You can do your masters without paying your fees. You just have to secure, maybe pay for other things like your living expenses and all that, but your school fees is covered. So for me, because I have like my relatives there, so it was just Germany for me. Coming across the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, specifically in Archamat, was accidental. It was during the process of applying to different scholarships, just like you mentioned earlier. I had my bachelor's in archaeology and tourism, not just archaeology. So to me, I was trying to leave the archaeology field to tourism. I also did my bachelor's thesis in tourism, so it was that serious for me to leave archaeology. And all the programs I applied to, or yeah, during my application period, were tourism courses. And the fun fact about them is that I got rejections for all of them. None. I don't think I got any archaeology tourism offer. Ashmat, this particular program I'm in, was my first archaeology program application, and lucky for me, I got it. So it was accidental. I just came across it on the internet, and yeah, Erasmus Mundus is popular in Nigeria, but to me, I really didn't know about it, or maybe I really didn't search to get more information about it before applying. I just came across it in the net and I was like, okay, this looks good and it looks like something I can relate to. So I had to start creating a synergy with what I have done in my bachelor's to what I intend doing or what the master's program is all about. It was really tough for me trying to link my thesis or my previous research, which was tourism based, to the archaeological aspect. So I had to do everything I can. So it was really a process. It was accidental, I would say, because yeah, that's it.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. So yes, I understand that all of us having to apply for this program. A lot had happened. Somebody had to come with the opportunity. Some of us we stumbled upon it, and all these things. So now that you are in the you are in the program, and now that it's your second semester, how does this, I would say, a choice that you took, how is it fitting within your academic and career goals? Because as for me, the program is actually, because it's more aligned to my thesis, my honors thesis, where I was doing a project which was focusing on the use of XRF in the analysis of archaeological ceramics. And now that I'm here, I'm doing something which is more of a full-time thing, XRF in detail and all those things. As for you, Amarachi, you were into tourism and it's more like a transition. How does the program now, how does it fit within your academic and career goals?
Okay, first of all, I will mention the reason why I was trying to switch from archaeology to tourism is that I I didn't really like the whole fieldwork idea that comes with archaeology. The excavation was fun, but staying long days, hours under the sun excavating a site was not my thing. So I was more of the give me my laptop, let me just do something on the internet and all that. So the archaeological material, the Archamat program, the current Erasmus Mundus program that I'm in, it's it's a versatile program, I must say, because you don't have to be in the field in this, because ever since I arrived to Europe, I've never gone for excavation. We've never been to any excavation. We've been more of the analysis, going to the lab, analyzing in the lab, doing some analysis on the laptop and all that. So it's my thing. So I was just like, okay, wow, then it makes sense. So there's still a place for me in archaeology, I must say. So for me, it's aligning, and I'm already finding, like, I already found my passion in it, and I'm already thinking I already have a place where I want to channel I want to do my research, channel my energy and all that, So I don't have to be in the field. In this program, you don't have to always be in the field. You don't have to always. So if you're the kind of person like me that wants to, have this and do analysis online and your laptop and all that, so it's something for you as well. So it aligns very well. I mean,
That's amazing, because it actually speaks broadly about your research interest, where you have said that you're more interested in the application of different analytical techniques in the study of archaeological material. It's something which is interesting. And at the same time, to our listeners, it's now clear that archaeology is very broad and versatile. It's not, if you are not that field type of person, there is a space for you. So it's not like you have to say, oh, archaeology is all about field work. There is a space for you if you're not a field work type of person, or rather an outdoor person. There is a space for you, which is amazing. So as for you, Ben, I understand that from what you have told us, your interests are more into conservation. So far, based on what you have learned and what you have experienced with the Archamat, um, do you think that this program actually aligns well with your academic and career goals?
Yeah, I mean, they do align very well, and I'm very happy about it because going forward, I wanted to do or to develop a career in conservation. And if you try to connect it with the program we are doing right now, you will find it out like it gives you the scientific aspect of conservation. It's you indulge in different, let's say, material characterization in terms of, as one of the analysis method of analysis you just mentioned, XRF. And as a person who is interested in conservation, I'm very happy because you find it gives you an idea of the non-destructive method which you can use to study and analyze materials and things like that. For it, basically, I was very surprised because for me, the scientific aspect of conservation was I did not have that perspective before coming here or before joining this program. The only thing I know about conservation is more based on my background as an art student, a student with a background from art. So I was very surprised, especially when we had like the summer. It was the summer study where we were first introduced on different techniques, different methods of analysis, which most of them are non-destructive, especially when you're dealing with very sensitive archaeological material with archaeological value or cultural value. So having that opportunity to learn the non-destructive methods of not only ways of conservation, but also studying the materials in terms of material characterization, it was a very, I can say, I'm seeing myself going and building a career in conservation as I plan to. And as far as I can, yeah, I see myself in a good place.
Okay, so can you say your basic understanding before you got into this program was more of what I can say traditional archaeology or traditional conservation?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that made me change my mind from like doing my master's at my own country to starting looking for opportunity or chances to do my master's abroad, the idea sparked from attending different international conferences and workshops. So while attending those conferences, some of the conferences, I was like, I always find like all of the things which were presenting were new to me, and some of which I've never heard before. So I came to understand that the field of conservation, especially cultural heritage or archaeological heritage conservation, it's very broad from my perspective, from the perspective I've had from my background, like from my bachelor background. So I was like, okay, for me to understand the field, to contribute something into the field, I need to expand my knowledge into it. So from there, I decided to look for a master's abroad, which will suit or make me understand the whole field of conservation in a greater way. So that is where the shift started from. So I started looking for opportunities to understand the field of conservation in way deeper, and that is how I landed to archaeological material science, Archamat.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. So for those of our viewers who might be wondering what an XRF is, because we have been talking about XRF and all those things. So I would start by saying an XRF is an X-ray fluorescence technique or equipment which is used mainly for non-destructive analysis of archaeological materials. So what are we talking about when we say analysis? We are talking about the chemical composition of archaeological objects so that we know the different components, chemical components, which makes up an archaeological object. So it's also very vital for us when we are trying to understand, for example, the origins of archaeological materials. So, so both of you guys, you've talked about your experiences and how you came into this program. So this is just a provocative question, if I can say. And what is it that made you think, rather before even applying, and now that you are now the part of the project participants, or rather program participants, what made you think that you are an eligible candidate for this opportunity? Because for me, when I saw the opportunity at first, I was like, no, maybe it's not mine. It's the whole of Europe, and they're taking students from almost different parts of the world. Will I be, accepted, considering that they're taking from a large pool of students? So, yeah, in your cases, I will start with Amarachi. What made you think that you're eligible for this?
Okay. So first of all, I went through the program's website, So that's the very important part of applying for scholarships, especially international programs, because I see a lot of people, you send them link to apply for stuff. They rather ask you to tell them yourself what is already in the program's website. So I took my time. I went through the program's website, the requirements, the documents, and everything it entails and what is expected. I realized that I'm qualified for this. I I have the requirements, I have the documents, and I think I have the skills. So I think I can go for it. So it took me a while because writing the motivation letter, the statement of purpose was not even an easy thing. I mean, for me, coming from a tourism, I wouldn't say archaeology now, coming from a tourism background, now trying to fit into the whole archaeology, the conservation aspect of this particular course. So it took me time. I went through the whole requirement process, started writing my motivation letter. And I must say, um, I don't know, it's 1 minute left. Can I continue? First of all, I would say I took my time. I went through the program's website, went through the requirements, the documents that was needed, the skills that was required, and I felt okay, maybe I can just go for this. Maybe this might just work, maybe not, because during the application process, it got to a point where I wasn't even expecting anything, because I think everybody applying should already have this mindset. Throwing your application without expecting anything, so you don't feel, I don't know, some kind of way when you start getting the rejections, the love letters and quotes, as some people may call it. So yeah, I went through the program's website and everything was detailed. And so I started thinking of ways to align my previous program, my background to the program I'm applying for. And the good thing is that it's an interdisciplinary program, so it accepts people, European and non-European students from different academic background, humanities, science, especially science. I mean, if you even have a science background, it's a plus for you because we're going through a lot here. So yeah, and everything was detailed as I was saying, and yeah, and applied for it. And luckily for me, a good thing, I got an invite for an interview. So yeah, what I would say is that when applying for program, take your time, go through the website. I mean, go through the website. If it will take you 1 month, it's better you do one application than just rushing into it, sending hundreds of applications and just wasting your time, because writing motivation letters for something that it's possible you're not even qualified. Maybe you're not qualified for it. Maybe the requirements requires you to have a proof of English and you didn't just pay attention to it and you end up writing a motivation letter for something that even right from the application stage, you're not qualified for it. So it's a good thing that you take your time, go through the program's website. They always detail everything there. I mean, they always do. If you get to a point where you need to speak to someone about it, maybe it should be sending your motivation letters for perusal purpose, and maybe not for the requirements and the documents and all that. So I mean, I must say in conclusion is that I feel I met the requirements of the program and the skills that was required and everything, and I think that was what made me qualified to be part of the Archamat program, maybe.
That's so amazing, and those are very, very powerful ways. Like, for before you even start applying, you have to carry your own background research, which is amazing. So, Amarachi, you highlighted something which is quite amazing, and it's a reality. Where you say, yeah, if you're coming from a science background, it's even better for you because we are going through a lot. Can you maybe, with, with just a few ways, highlight those things that we are going through?
The thing is that this question, I can go on and on talking about it because I've not recovered from the experience. Like, I mean, my experience from last semester. Yeah, why I said that, why I said that it's a plus for you if you have, because at some point when I got into the program, I started questioning my decisions. I was like, are you sure I really fit? Are you sure this is actually for me? Maybe this is just for the science student. You know, stuff like that will come into your mind. But the course basically is a scientific course. I mean, everything you are doing practically are how to understand archaeology scientifically, or how to read or how to write scientific archaeology papers. I don't know if I don't know if I'm making sense. So yeah, because from our experience, the first semester we were introduced to chemistry. I mean, intense chemistry, geology, everything was science. We had just one archaeology course, and it was not even intense. It was just I think a 1 week class of archaeology, and that was all the archaeology we had. So every other thing was science. So you were just coming into a new environment, a new continent, and trying to adapt to your new program. And the new program you have to adapt to is a science program, chemistry. So I mean, if you are planning, my advice is that if you are planning to apply for the Archamat program, I would advise you to already start looking at some chemistry textbooks, you know, just to get like a background knowledge, because trust me, that is basically all you will be doing. Yeah.
That's so amazing. And thank you so much for those words of advice. And for Ben, I also understand that I think we are almost within the same bracket where we are not coming from a science background. What are your thoughts in regards to this whole facing a lot, you know, trying to transition from art to a science, you know, what's your take?
I'll have to agree with Amarachi. Again, it's like you immediately after getting into the program, you realize like maybe I missed my step. Maybe this is where I'm not supposed to be. Why am I even here? So it's like immediately you start to question myself while you were just happy you got the program and things like that. But immediately after you start the program, you're like, okay, am I in the right place? I mean, what am I even doing here? Why am I not getting anything? So it's like you get into shock, like it's not easy. And if if this was not your choice, if you came to this program by just like you just stumbled upon it, it's like you didn't have any plan for it. I'm telling you, you might pack up your bags and go back, but so it's not easy. Like you need to like stay into the storm until it's over. So you reach where you elevate to the plane, you're like, okay, I get it now. But at the beginning, you start questioning yourself. But if I go back to the question of like what made me eligible to this program, I think I will have to reverse the question. Why did I not think that I'm eligible to this program? Because immediately after talking to people who had already applied for several Erasmus Mundus programs and things like that, most of the people who are selected, and it was a norm of how they do things or how they select students, were students who were doing who had already achieved their master's degree in different areas. So that was a norm too. And after hearing that, I got like I was like hesitating to apply for the program, because if most of the people are saying like most of the people who are being selected are people who have already done their masters and things like that, and I had only a BA, so that is a norm that most people will tend to tell you, especially those who have been selected for these Erasmus programs. But I came to understand later, but that is not the way things are. And actually, what saved me is like the second option, which they said it's either whether you have like a master degree or you have experience. And I got first-hand experience with this because when I applied for the program for the first time, I was selected, shortlisted as a self-paying student, and I didn't get the scholarship. But immediately I had to, okay, I was like, because I wanted to get the scholarship for the program, and I was really interested in the program. I sent an email to the coordinator asking like for my result, how did I do in the application, different areas. And I discovered that I didn't perform well in the area of experience. So that gave me a point to think about, okay, so this is the only area, and to be honest, it was the only area that I was supposed to strengthen for me to get the scholarship. So upon realizing that, I went back and started engaging myself into different programs, different activities, research and things like that, so that I could get the experience needed for me to get the scholarship. So I should, what I can say, that you should not be, first, just because it's a science-based program, it does not mean that you're not eligible. It does not mean that you should be scared to take it, because as Amarachi said, it's a multidisciplinary. It takes like a multidisciplinary approach. It takes different. It takes students from different backgrounds, whether you are from humanities or you're from science. And in terms of humanity, whether you're doing anthropology, you're doing conservation, you're doing cultural heritage management, as archaeology, and things like that. So you should not be scared because it's a science-based program. And then from there, you should not be scared when you find out, or when you contact a person, they tell you like most of the people are selected only those who have their master's degree, while you have your bachelor degrees. Yes, most of the people, sometimes most of the people were selected at that, but there are things which you can do, including improve your experience in the field, that could have will help you to get the scholarship, regardless of the fact that you have a bachelor degree.
Yeah, can I add something to what he said?
Yes.
Yeah, concerning the experience part, I think it's very, very important. Like, in as much as getting a good grade or graduating with a very good result in your bachelor's is important, getting a practical experience in the field of archaeology, or in the field or in the program you intend to continue, is very important. Why? Because I have a friend who also got the Erasmus Mundus scholarship. The thing is that she graduated with a second class lower. I don't know the grade here, but in Nigeria, a second class lower is close to a third, I don't know, a third class or a pass. It's not so much of a good it's not like a first class or even a second class upper candidate. But she has experience. She attended conferences, she volunteered a lot of times. She had practical experience, not in archaeology, but in a different field now. She had practical experience, and I was surprised that she got the scholarship. Like, she got the scholarship at ease. She did the interview and everything. So the experience part is very important, and also know what to put to include in your CV. Not every job you do or not every work you do should be added to your CV. Let your CV or the experience you are including in your CV align with the program you are applying for. So it's very important. I just think that the experience part is very important, and I don't know how to stress more on it. So that's why I said maybe I can just talk about it and give, yeah, so that's it.
That's so true. Experience is actually the most important thing, if we are to be honest with each other. Yeah, because you might know that from a practical perspective, it's difficult for you to apply those things that you have learned. So again, I think from an experience perspective, it shows um, how eager and how excited you are in whatever that you're doing, having to look out for opportunities to volunteer and all those things. It shows how passionate you are about the program. It's quite amazing, and it's quite important. And it just reminds me, talking about this whole transition from an art background to a science background, when during our first semester, it was more like every lecture, and every lecturer would come and say, do we have physicists here? Do we have chemists? All those things. So it was more like a clear sign that, hey, we are heading towards, the hard times. But the most important thing is, I'm sure all of us have sailed through and, managing to understand bit by bit, and we are having a better understanding of this whole science thing. And it's quite interesting that Ben has highlighted the issue of, as a person, not to be intimidated by people here, by what people have to say, and again the importance of having to look at the at what the opportunity requires, like what Amarachi said, where before you even apply, you have to look at what is it that they are looking for. Otherwise, you'll be wasting your time writing a lot of information which might not be relevant. And it reminds me of this other workshop that I attended, where one of the guys was saying, if I looked at your motivation letter and I see that it doesn't say anything which is written in the call for applications, then I will not consider that. So it's quite important to include all those aspects. And I think now we can just jump a bit from the academic life, and we can go into the life as a student in general. The hassles that you have to go through for you to be in the program, number one, the hassles that you have to go through for you to be in Europe before you even start getting into the program. So I understand that for a lot of us, if not maybe more than 3/4 of us, the most stressing thing that we all faced was the visa and resident permit processes. Coming from Nigeria, Amarachi, how difficult or how easy was it for you to even start this whole visa application process? How stressing was it, and how did you manage?
Yeah, the visa, getting a project. Okay, first of all, the program, the Archamat program, is the coordinating institution is in Portugal. So you will have to get a visa first of all to Portugal. Lucky for us, or fortunate for us in Nigeria, we have the Portuguese embassy in Nigeria. So getting to the embassy wasn't so much of a problem, but securing, okay, first of all, you don't need an appointment in Nigeria. I don't know if it's general. You don't need an appointment to go to the Portuguese embassy. You just have to check their website. I think the consulate website of the Portuguese embassy or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to check. And you find out the requirements, the documents that you need, and all that. So for us, or for me, I didn't start my visa application on time because my program delayed with sending my documents to prove that I am coming. I have the program. I have been admitted and all that. So I had to wait, I think, until August last year. I went to the embassy, submitted my application, but it wasn't straight, because some of these embassies that don't have that you don't need to secure appointments, just be expecting a long queue there. So most of the people had to sleep at the embassy. Some people some people practically live in front of the embassy because it's only open Tuesdays and Thursdays. So some people practically stay there a day before just to, be attended to on a Tuesday or on a Thursday. So it was a very big challenge for me. Trying to submit my documents, and finally I had to wait for like 2 months before my visa was before I got my visa. And at that time my program already started. So I joined, I think, a month later after the program had started. So it was a very big challenge for me getting my Portuguese visa from Nigeria. Yeah. So.
That's quite insightful. And as for you, Ben, coming from Tanzania, how was it?
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, it was not easy at all. It was one of the hardest thing I had to go through I can say the whole program before arriving to start the program, especially in Portugal, because I cannot stress the issue of, like, first of all, the thing that you need to know is, like, we don't have like an embassy, a Portugal embassy in Tanzania. And secondly, I didn't have any person to look up, a person who has applied or prior applied for the visa coming from my country. I had one guy who did it, but the program was different. So the coordinator of the programs were different. The main problems I had was, like, in terms of getting into contact, into communication with the embassy, because for me, the application is very different. All I have to do is to write an email to the embassy and wait for them to respond. So as you know, embassies they are very busy places. They have a lot to do, and imagine, it's like it adds value when you're there physically, for example. But if you cannot be there physically, it creates a problem. So you write an email and then you wait for them to respond. So I had to write a lot of emails to them. Like, I can count like maybe 100 and something emails from like April to at least, I can say, April to July. I was writing emails, just waiting for the response. I was trying to call, but you call them, it's an international call, so you have to pay for it. You pay, you make a call, and then your money, your airtime is finished before even talking to them. What the hell do you want? Like, what was your interest about it? So what did you wanted to talk with them, for them to serve you? So it was a bit of a problem. The main problem was getting in contact with the embassy, so that I could first of all understand the documents. You can just go to their website and you can understand, or you can know the document which they require, but you also need them to send you the accounts and things like that, so that you can pay for the visa. So there is a lot of things that you're doing in terms of communicating, in terms of emails and things like that, which the response is not. You will face a problem with communication, getting into contact with the embassy. So I had to discover things, because I had to try different ways, talking to the coordinator and explaining my situation, that we don't have an embassy in Tanzania, and I'm really having a hard time to communicate with the embassy. I've been sending emails. So at the end of the day, after me struggling, because it was crazy, I had to go to the Mozambique embassy, so that at least they could have helped me, but they didn't have any way to help me, because there was like, if you want to, the only way we can help you, for you to get a visa from here to Mozambique, so that you can go and see them personally. And it was not a good option for me, because I was not able to do that. So I started looking for other like ways to get into contact with to get the response from the embassy. So doing that, I stumbled upon the European Union delegation, which is at my country. And I went there one day, and because I didn't have an appointment and things like that, I was turned back. Then I went back. I started looking online for their information and things like that. I wrote an email, and luckily it was responded to. And unfortunately, I got to find out that there is an office. They have people there in the European Union delegation, which specifically dealing with Erasmus Mundus scholarship. So I went there, and from there things started going in the right direction. But before that, it's like all roads were dark. I didn't know where to go, who to look upon. But luckily, I was happy to meet with the people who are working in that office, and then from there things were going smoothly. But it was a big problem contacting the embassy and not knowing who to ask information from, like, how did you do it? How are things done? And things like that. So I think that is what I can say about it.
Okay. So just in short, what you are saying is for countries who do not have the embassies within their cities or countries, it's the best idea that they approach the EU delegation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So for now, Pumi wants to just ask quick questions before we proceed.
All right, thank you so much. Just to jump on to what Ben was saying just now about having difficulties with the visa process and not knowing where to start. This is why we want to do something like this, so then people can know who to approach, because it's not a nice experience to be going through something like that. You don't know what you're doing. You're feeling pressures on the other side. They're telling you get things done so then you can start the program. And you also still stuck here trying to find out who can help with that process. So it's not the best, but this is why we use this platform to do that. So then you know who to reach out to and you know who to advise. Because I also found myself in a similar situation, and I tried to speak out to people who were also from Southern Africa, who had gone to Europe, and they told me their stories, but obviously nobody's story is going to be the same directly, even if we go into the same place. We didn't have the same experience at all. So it's important to talk and to share that information. And that's why it's good to help out and to be open to people asking you those questions and, leading them on the right path or a similar path so then they know where they need to go. But as for my questions, I think I'll just have 2 questions for now. Earlier, Ben, you said that when you were embarking on this journey of the Erasmus Mundus, right? You said that, before then, you said that you put yourself out there. You were networking with people in the field. You went on your social media and you were following people that were like relevant and could probably help you with the path that you want to create and pursue for your career. Was that something that was natural for you, or was that you coming out of your comfort zone and trying to forge a way for your future?
Yeah, it was not natural. I had to do it. It's something like I had to develop. It's something I learned along the way that for this to be done, I have to be this kind of person. I have to live this kind of life. So that is what, because as I said earlier, I had a plan. I had a goal first. First of all, I had an interest, because I had an interest in cultural heritage management, especially conservation. And then I developed a goal. I was like, I want to do my master's. So from there, I was like, what will be the plan for me to achieve this? So one of the plan was to create a good environment that will support that goal. And one of the plan was to create a conducive environment, a good environment to let that goal flourish. And one of the ways I got I developed, or I thought I could achieve that, is by connecting with people with similar interest first. And then from that, I got as you have said, I got into contact with different organization, institution, and things like that. So it was not natural. It was something I needed to develop, something I needed to do for in order for me to achieve my goal.
Thank you so much, Ben. And then my next question is for Amarachi. So you were talking about something that I've heard quite a few times, is that you are not really a fan of excavations and field excursions, which is also fine. And I appreciate that. And I always laugh about it because I have a friend who, she despises it. She's like, I love archaeology, but do not take me to the field. She's like, one day in the field is enough. So I just found that funny. And it's not, I just want to reiterate that being in the field does not make you an archaeologist. There are many other things that you can do, like being in the lab, being in the office. You can go to the field just once in a while, I guess. But it doesn't have to be the end all and be all of you being an archaeologist. So I support that decision, and I hope you stand by it, that I have my limits. And also other people see it too. So I appreciate that. But do you find that people look at you different when you say that you're not really a person for the field?
Oh, well, I get that a lot, because it's like you're an archaeologist. At the point they start asking you, so why did you even study archaeology if you don't like the field thing? Because whenever you tell someone that you studied archaeology, and the next thing they say, oh, you go for excavation and all that. So like, yeah, but yeah, people do look at me different. But the thing is that it boils down to, what do you actually want for yourself? So for me, I know I don't really like the field, but I was already thinking of ways to bring in something that, or so I was already thinking of ways to channel my interest into something that wouldn't really take me to the field. Okay, for me that did the archaeology and tourism thing. Yeah, it's still tourism, and tourism has its synergy with archaeology. So I was already thinking, oh, maybe I can go into web development, where I can develop sites, tourism sites that will have a lot of archaeological sites, make it easy for people to access archaeological sites in Nigeria. It's still archaeology, but I don't need to go to the field. So the thing is that I already know what I want for myself. I am already looking for or thinking of ways on how to align my interests with what I already did, or something like that. So doing this, starting my program in the Archamat, doing the Archamat program, and all that, understanding what the program is all about, I found out that most of my professors don't go to the field. Most of them are always in the lab. Some of them don't even know how an excavation should be done. I mean, one of the professors I admire so much, she's the head of department of the chemistry department in Evora. She talks about archaeology as though she studied archaeology, but she didn't do archaeology. Like she don't have any background in archaeology. She only do analysis for the archaeologists. So you see, there are ways in which you can bring in different fields into archaeology. If someone says they are not in the field person, yeah. So what do you really want to do? If it's still something that aligns with archaeology, then it's perfect. I mean, everything boils down to interest.
All right, thank you so much for your side on that. It's very refreshing to hear that, you know what, people still stand by with what they believe in, and you're not going to force me to do something that I'm not comfortable doing. So, but that also ties in another thing. If you think about it now, more so, archaeology has become very multidisciplinary these days. So you find a lot of people who do not have a background in archaeology doing archaeology, or just being part of the analysis or ethnography or interpretations, because we really lend from a lot of other disciplines as well. So, it's very dynamic. That's what I would say. It's very dynamic. And I will say, for me, from my experience, it's quite welcoming from other people's disciplines. Like you find people in physics, you find people in chemistry, you find people in geology. You know, we all like meld together and we connect at some point. And, you know, you get to also find out more so about their discipline. So I don't think it's a bad thing for all this intermixing and all of that. It helps us in the end, you know. So, and that's how science is. That's how we move forward. So it is what it is on that one.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right, guys. I think for the time being, I'm just going to, I need to leave because I have another engagement. But Tatenda is going to create another meeting link. So I'm going to end this one here so then it can save. And then you guys can continue on with your session. So then you can talk more about your tips and tricks and all of that, because that is very important. And I appreciate that. So I'll see you guys another time. Amarachi, I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you so much.